Welcome to the Child Care Business Coach podcast. My name is Evelyn Knight. I hope everybody is doing well, and I'm excited for today. Today is the first day of our free webinar series that we're doing for everybody on thriving through any economy. And I'm really excited about this because it kind of takes me back to my roots. In 2020, I saw that there was a lot of turmoil happening and there just was a lot going on in ECE. And I was doing okay because I had set up a backup plan. And so even when the economy was at its worst in 2020, I was actually doing just fine. And so I had to really just kind of look around, and I saw so many of you out there in despair that every single day I started going on live to be the cheerleader, to let you know that we can do this. You can make it through this economy. We made it through 2020. And I know right now things have been pretty bad, and they are going to get better. They are. But it's going to take some time before they get better. And we can do this. Again, we can do this. We can make it through this economy. And there's something a little bit different this time. And that's really why I decided I need to start hopping back in, doing these free webinars, really coming in and pouring into the ECE community. And there is something different. During COVID, I had savings and I had built myself up so that I could make it through hard times, right? And 2024 was a really hard year for my childcare center. Those of you here in Nevada, you guys know all of the subsidy changes and so many things happened last year that altogether, I lost a lot of money in revenue because of a lot of the changes that were happening. So let me know in the comments if this has happened to you, or if you're listening to the podcast, send me a message and let me know. Is this something that has happened to you as well, where we're just, I don't know, something is just, it was a hard year. I know the federal government cut our subsidy programs, and so many people became reliant on that during the past 4 years that it made it really, really hard. But there is something different this time. I decided I don't want to go through my savings. We work hard to build up our savings and to build up our rainy day fund. But why do we have to use them? I don't want to go through my rainy day fund. I don't want to have to use the savings that I worked hard for, right? So when we look at what we're facing right now, parents can't pay enough in tuition. If you're not living in a high income area, parents cannot pay enough, right? So we have to find alternatives, and we can. And I just really looked at 2024, and I did have to use a lot of my savings after there were a lot of things that happened, and we took a couple steps backwards. And so I started really doing research the last 6 months, and that I'm not doing this. I'm not going to run a business where I have to dip into my savings anymore. I'm not going to do this. And we don't have to. So I want to help you out there, you childcare leaders, and how can we diversify our incomes? We cannot put all of this on the backs of our parents. And there are other ways for us to keep reasonable childcare costs without going into our savings, having to get SBA loans to survive, all the things. But we have to think differently. So this weekend, I heard a story about Southwest Airlines that really intrigued me and changed a lot. And I want you to really think about this. Southwest Airlines was losing millions of dollars a year because it took 45 minutes for them to turn their flights around when they landed. So when they land, the passengers get off, the new passengers get on. It was a 45-minute turnaround time. And that cost them millions and millions of dollars when you think of the fleet of airplanes, right? So they kept coming to the table and asking, how can, or why are these airplanes stuck on the runway for so long, right? And nobody can figure it out. Nothing was happening. So they hired someone to come in and help. And that person changed one thing. The only thing that person changed was how they were framing the question. That's it. Instead of asking, why are our airplanes stuck on the runway for so long? He came in and said, how can we get our airplanes off the runway faster? And ironically, I think it's hilarious that this big corporation had to hire one consultant to do one little thing, paid hundreds of thousands of dollars just to reframe a question. That's it. So for us in childcare, we're looking at enrollment right now. Why aren't people enrolling? Why can't I charge more? Why all the wrong questions? We're asking the wrong questions. For me, I went through a little over $100,000 in savings last year, just trying to keep up with what was going on at my childcare center. And I decided, no, I'm not doing this. Not doing this. I'm not going through my savings anymore. I'm not going to do this. So instead of asking, why am I going through my savings? I need to ask a different question. How can I create a program where I don't need to go through my savings? How can I create a program where I don't have to raise my rates and basically outprice some of my parents out of the system? What alternative measures can I take? This industry is dying. I was studying this all weekend. 91% of childcare centers fail before they hit the 10-year mark. I really want you to hear that. 91%, including the big corporations, fail. Only 9% of childcare programs survive past the 10-year mark. I was actually really proud of myself when I heard that, because I've been in business for 17 years. I'm like, yes, I have beat 91% of the people out there, 91%. But I want you to really understand and hear that. And did you know that the percentage of owners who can actually sell their company and exit is only 3%? That's insane. Only 3% have a viable company. There's a beginning to everything, and there's an end to everything. And most of us don't ever think about the end, but you need to all the time. You should always be thinking of the end, not just the beginning. We don't know what's going to happen. I know that better than anybody. Losing my husband a few years ago was really hard. The me of 20 years ago, the me of 10 years ago did not know that I was going to lose my husband, right? So what if it had been me instead? We would have had to sell my childcare center. So are you treating your program like it's an asset? Are you creating a viable business that can go beyond the 10-year mark, number one? And number two, when you're ready to retire, do you have a viable product that you can sell? And I know, you guys, I'm not thinking about selling my company, right? I'm not, but I still need to make sure I can at any moment. You don't know what life is going to throw at you. We don't know. We don't know. And so if you really start looking at your business as a business, this is a business, but we don't treat them like they are. And that is the problem. Did you know that with the studying I've been doing this weekend, there is one thing that separated the companies that lasted beyond 9 years? And by the way, when I was doing this study, even Fortune 500 companies, like 91% of all companies go out of business within the first 10 years. They don't make it. Even Fortune 500. Right now, a Fortune 500 company's lifespan is 15 years. And there is one thing that was different about all the companies that made it past 10 years. There's one thing they all had in common. They always had the end in mind. They were future focused. They weren't as concerned about what was happening today. They were always taking into account if I make this decision, what is going to happen to me tomorrow? That was the one difference. So even if you're not planning on selling, you have to treat your center like you are. Otherwise, you're going to be part of the 91% that fail, and you'll be part of the 97% that even if you do make it beyond the 10 years, you'll be part of the 97% that don't have a viable business to sell when it's time. There was, here in my hometown, there was a old auto shop, been open for 30 years. The owner decided that he was ready to retire. He was done, 30 years. And it was a very high producing mechanic auto shop. It did really, really well. He did really well. But when he went to sell, he had nothing to sell because he treated his business like it was just a owner operator, mom and pop small business. He didn't treat it like it was an asset. So he had nothing to sell. Many of you do this. I get approached all the time, at least once a month. People come to me to try and get me to buy their childcare program, right? And the first thing I ask them is send me your documents. I want to see all your financials. So I get P&Ls and I get balance sheets and all the things sent to me. Do you know that I would say 95% of the time, there's nothing to sell? There's nothing to sell. I had one sad story. And if you watch my other videos on my personal page, I don't think I've posted them on any of the groups, but on my personal page, I'm opening a childcare program right now. And I'm showing you the furniture that I have, right? So a couple of years ago, I had an owner approach me on buying her childcare program. I drove down to the city about 2 hours away, and I looked at her books and all her financials. She was asking about $150,000 for the business. After doing my evaluation, it wasn't worth $150,000. I was being very generous and I offered her $25,000. That's it. Because she really didn't have a viable business. And honestly, the only thing I was buying from her were materials and supplies. So to be honest, $25,000 was still offering too much money for this business. Of course, she refused. She's like, there's no way, no way. About a year later, she was selling to one of my clients for $75,000. She did go from 150 to 75. Now, my client lived in the area. She had some other motives. So she knew she was overpaying, but she was willing to overpay for this program because it fit her needs, right? But it was not worth 75,000. Now, keep in mind, they started at 150. Now we're at 75. Well, this owner decided to start nitpicking little things, and she tried to raise the price, tried to get more out of my client. My client backed out. So fast forward about 6 months later, I get a phone call, and it is from this original owner. And she says to me, you know what? I'm just closing my doors. Do you want to buy all my furniture? Sure, I'll buy all your furniture. So I drove down there, took a look at all her furniture. She, by the way, she had already tried to do like a garage sale, a rummage sale thing. She put things on Facebook Marketplace, all the things, right? I ended up giving her $1,500. That's it. All the furniture in that building that was licensed for 50 children, I ended up paying $1,500. Now think about it. I had offered her $25,000. She also was in contract with somebody for $75,000, which was way too much money. But because she didn't have the business acumen and she didn't have the right systems in place, she didn't have a business that was worth anything. And honestly, the $1,500 I ended up paying is all it was worth. That was it. Because she had no viable business. That's all she had was the stuff inside the building. So if you're in that situation now and you know deep down, like, I got to do this, I don't want to go through my savings, or maybe you're out of your savings and you don't know how you're going to pay next month's payroll, be sure to join us for the free webinar I'm doing. It's only an hour and a half away. We're going to be doing a free webinar on really how to make yourself resistant to the bad economies. If you can't make it live, we are going to have recordings. So please do not miss out. You have done hard things before. This is just another one. We can make it through this economy. And we can do it by bringing in more streams of income instead of just relying on the one. Successful companies always have about 5 streams of income. In childcare, we have 1. We have tuition. We need more. And really all it comes down to is changing the question. How can we bring more income into our centers? And building up your business acumen so you really understand what actions you need to take, when you need to take it, so that you don't find yourself so buried that you don't know how you're going to make it, and you don't have to reach out to people like me to come in and take over your center. I don't like doing that. I would much rather help owners build their businesses, have a successful company, and keep the business they dreamed of instead of having to come in and bail them out. It's so much better for all of us if you get to keep your dream. So if you haven't signed up yet, please do so. And this is also going to work for you if you're doing great. Your center might be doing awesome. You might be in an area that isn't struggling like a big part of the United States. This program will also be great for you too. In this workshop, I'm basically going to just teach you how to build more income. So if you are a serial entrepreneur and you're really just trying to build up your portfolio and you want the valuation of your childcare center just to be higher and higher and just make it a much more highly valued company, then this is also for you. So please make sure that you join us for our free webinar coming up. I am going to put the link in the chat right now. If you're watching on my Facebook group, I will have to put the link in the chat after because I'm on a different platform. And I should have it in the comments if you're on YouTube or Instagram. It should be in there right now, but I will add, oops, yep, that's right. Okay, I will add it for all of you. But yes, please join us for our webinar. Christina, if you're in there, you could drop the link in the chat. That would be awesome. But it will change your childcare business. It will. We don't have to suffer, and you don't have to go through your savings to get through this economy. There are other ways. And I promised myself in 2025, I'm not ever going to be in the position again where I have to blow through my savings. I'm not going to do it. I mean, it's great to have it, but when I have it, I want to use it to be my own bank. So if I need to go buy a new van or I need to do some construction project, I can use it in that sense. I don't want to have to go and tap in because of tuition issues. And we don't have to. So let's change this now together. And by the way, this episode of our podcast is brought to you by Kangaroo Time, which is the most amazing software. I use it at my programs. I absolutely love it. I can't even tell you guys how amazing Kangaroo Time is about training us and doing all the things. They meet with my management team once a week just to make sure that we are really fully utilizing the company to its fullest. They really want to make sure we're happy and that we are using their software to make our lives easier and that we're really getting our money's worth. I have tried some of the other software companies and they are absolutely the best. The other thing I have to say about Kangaroo Time is I really research companies before I allow them to endorse me or before I allow them to be one of our sponsors. And I promise you, I will never bring on a sponsor that doesn't have integrity. I will vet them because that is very, very important to me. So thank you everybody so much for watching. Make sure that you go to childcarebusinessprofessionals.com/grow 2025. The link will be in the notes and sign up for today's free webinar. If you miss the live, we will get you the recording, but you do not want to miss out, you guys. This is a big deal. You don't want to miss out. It is time for the ECE revolution. You don't have to be the Blockbuster of the industry. You can be the Netflix. So join us. Bye, everybody.